Wax Podcast. Talking mad shit about interesting facts. Wax Podcast. Listen to it every Wednesday.
Biatch. Hey, 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 hey. Podcast sound. Podcast sound. Hey, hey, yeah. Ba-da-da. The podcast sound. Goddamn, it's the podcast sound. Thanks, Wax. Even if it's not on Wednesday, maybe Thursday, or you just forgot it this week.
Peace.
Oh, yeah, that was Young Lampshade. Give it up for Young Lampshade with his edition of the podcast jingle. I was deciding which one to play today, and I figured that Young Lampshade mentioned me being late on the podcast. And yes, today is Friday. I'm 2 days late. This is the first time in a long time, many weeks, probably months at this point, that I haven't done the podcast on time, and I apologize for that. I know a lot of you guys support me on Patreon. And one of the reasons for that was to encourage me to get the podcast done on time every week. So, I have the option to charge people on Patreon. I actually didn't charge for the last podcast on Patreon because I thought people deserved the free knowledge of Nick Shea, the Nick Shea interview on the bike. And I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do the same this week because it's on Friday. And God damn it. I apologize for the noise in the background. Hear it? That is the air conditioning in the studio because the air conditioning at my house is broken. I don't know what's going on. I'm not a fucking HVAC mechanic. I'm not a real man that much. There's only certain real man tasks I can do, and one of them is not going outside and fixing my fucking air conditioning unit, okay? So we got something coming up. We got I don't know if he's coming today or tomorrow. I shouldn't say he. It might be a she. But somebody's going to come fix our shit soon because it is fucking hot as shit. And I don't think it's helping. I don't think me being really hot the last couple of days in my house has been helping my mood. I've been kind of in a bad mood. Usually when you're really busy, usually when you're doing a lot of stuff, it contributes to a general sense of well-being within your soul, mind, body. But not the last couple of days. I don't know what's going on, but it's been kind of in a bad mood. I'll tell you this, man. This is a lesson I've learned a couple times over the years. If you don't want to do something, just fucking say no, man. Sometimes I try to do something. I tell, especially with musical. God damn it! Fuck! Damn it! Yeah, I'm really bringing the Friday spirit. Friday spirit to the podcast, the Friday spirit of happiness and joy. But what I was gonna say, if you don't want to do something, just say no, man. You gotta say no off the top. So many times, like I've agreed to do something. A lot of times, it's like collaborate with somebody musically, and my heart will be in the right place. I'm trying to be like, yeah, man, let's do something. And knowing that it's kind of like something that is kind of like another thing on top of a plate full of. Picture somebody at a hometown buffet with just a huge plate full of shit, and that you try to put another pork chop on it and it just falls off. It's better just to leave the pork chop in the barrel full of pork chops. That way somebody else can use it. No harm done, no harm, no foul. But when the pork chop falls on the ground, everybody's salty. You and the hometown buffet and the guy who cooked the pork chop. So you got to just learn to say no to shit. And I've learned that lesson so many fucking times over the years, but I can't I don't know, man. I sometimes don't like when people ask me to do something. Well, a lot of times it's musically, but it might be something else, and you're put into the position where you feel like, well, if I say no, they're gonna think I'm a dick. But if I say yes, I'm gonna never get it done, and it's actually gonna end up being worse. So that's today's Nancy Reaganism. Just say no, What else should I talk about? I don't know. I actually had a great week. I think it's just the heat, man. The heat makes you a little angry, huh? I'm sitting here sweating. My whole body has like beads of sweat on it. I live in the valley, which is essentially a desert climate. Grass doesn't grow naturally here, as you can tell by my backyard. Anybody that has grass has an irrigation system. For those of you guys that don't know, everybody that lives in California in a house, it's different than where I'm from. And where I'm from, people do their own landscaping. People own lawnmowers and weed whackers, shit like that. I guess over here it's just a natural thing that somebody does that for you. I don't know. We rent this house. I can't remember exactly what it is, but included in the rent is these dudes. Oh, it's Friday today. These dudes come over and kind of do the yard. Granted, we don't have any fucking grass. It's not that difficult, but they just kind of clean it up for some ridiculously low price. I don't know how much. Hold up. But, yeah, I'm hot as fuck. And hopefully they'll fix our AC. I did have a good week. I did my show this past Sunday, Wax and Friends, which is a music/comedy show. I had my boy I had 2 people cancel on me last minute. I had to get some last minute replacements. Luckily, my boy T-Rex was there, saved the day, destroyed. If you guys haven't seen my boy T-Rex do comedy, you're really missing out. You know, I say nice things about all my friends, but some of them really are great, and he's one of them. But I had my boy T-Rex, my boy Sean Green, Zach Sherwin, very talented man, Zach Sherwin. I also had the one and only John Dunn, and then myself. Sold out show, and that will be happening the first Sunday of every month here in Los Angeles and Santa Monica, California at the West Side Comedy Theater at 9 p.m. The next one will be August 6th. Appearing on that one will be Conan O'Brien and former President Barack Obama. So you got to get your tickets now. I don't know who the fuck's going to be on it. I'm seriously getting a little delirious here. I don't know why. Where are we? I don't even like. You know, as soon as I said that, I dropped my phone that I was looking at on the keyboard. This is kind of. Am I? Earlier I was talking about saying no to things. I woke up this morning. I was like, man, I need to do this podcast. I'm already 2 days late, even though I kind of didn't want to do it. Is this podcast being an example of what I was talking about earlier? Is this podcast going on right now as I speak, being an example of something that's suffering? Because it's not coming from a place of love. It's not coming from a place of beauty. It's not coming from a place of fucking joy. It's coming from a place of force. It's coming from a place of, oh, I ain't got to do that. Oh, I guess I got to do that. This podcast is suffering from the same disease that my life is suffering from. The should have said no disease. That said, I'm doing a lot of fucking wonderful. I just want to hit stop. I just want to hit stop on this fucking thing. I'm not a perfect man. I'm not. All right, this is the thing, y'all. This is the thing I want you guys to understand. Anybody listening to this podcast right now, I want you to think about this. You know, every week, not every week, but for the last few months, it's been every week. I do this podcast. I hit the fucking record button. Sometimes I have things I want to talk about. Sometimes I just go off the top. But I hit the record button. I fucking talk for an hour. Well, I at least talk for a half an hour and then start talking about questions that kind of give me things to talk about. But it might seem like it's easy, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not easy to just fucking talk by my fucking self. So you better feel sorry for me, okay? I want you to feel as sorry as possible for me. You know when you watch those commercials late at night about the animal rescue? The animals that they show with really sad faces. The 2-legged dog. The blind cat. The 3 blind mice that they want you to adopt and rescue or send 50 cents so they can eat Alpo vittles or whatever. However you feel when you watch those commercials, I want you to feel that way about me right now. Because my life is really difficult. I actually have one of the hardest lives on earth. Yeah, there's children in Africa who are forced to fight in stupid wars when they're 11. Get all the while getting raped by their general. Yeah, their life's tough, but, you know, they'll get used to it. Me, I have to talk I have to sit here and talk into a microphone by myself and think of things off the top of my head as I go. It's almost impossible. No, but it's not that easy, man. Some days I wake up and I feel like I got to do the podcast, and that's when it's the hardest. Some days I feel like can't wait to do the podcast. That's when it's the easiest. And my life's just been so goddamn busy recently, whether it be with all the projects I'm working on, whether it be with when I was doing all the postal worker shit, whether it be with a lot of like social events, you know? I hate when, and this has happened to me recently a lot, I hate when you have a lot of work to get done, but then you have somebody's social event that you have to go to. Something like that happened this week. And I had a wonderful time. I had a wonderful time at this event. But it was one of those things where you got to go, you know? It's something with your friend where it's like, you got to go, but like you can't help but have this like dumb guilt in the back of your head thinking like, oh, I should be working. I really got to finish that. I really got to do that. Oh, this is just taking time away from when I'm supposed to be doing this. And you just can't win. That's the thing about life, y'all. You just can't win. It just gets worse and more. Anybody young listening to this, just know that your life is only going to get worse and more terrible and more horrible. Sound like Donald Trump right there. Terrible and horrible. I don't even know what's going on with him. I have no idea. I checked. Me and my brother both talking about it the other day. We checked out. Checked out of the political game. I think I've said that in like the last 10 podcasts. I don't know why I'm saying that like it's big news. Dun, 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 Big Wax's podcast news. This just in. Yeah, man. Did I write anything down on my little thing? Did I write anything down? My show went well. That's what I wrote down this week. You know what? Let's just go ahead and do the questions. All right, let's try to turn this thing around, shall we? Let's turn this fucking podcast around. All right, let's go. TsunamiPremiumVapor.com, y'all. My man Chris M. out there in Michigan. Check this out. Chris M. Speaking of how busy I've been, Chris M. sent me a package. I got a bunch of stuff from TsunamiPremiumVapor.com. I fucking appreciate the shit out of that, Chris. Everybody over there, tell him I said thank you. If you go to TsunamiPremiumVapor.com and put in the coupon code WAX, you will get 10% off. Now, the problem is I've been so busy, I haven't been able to test any of these products yet. I can't give my review until the next podcast. Hopefully, I'm going to make it a point because that's our sponsor, the podcast. One of the podcast sponsors, TsunamiPremiumVapor.com. I got to test the products they sent me for free. I swear to God, I've just been so swamped with shit that I haven't been able to test it. What do I have written down here? I didn't charge Patreon for the last podcast because I thought the knowledge should be free. I thought the knowledge of Nick Shea's conversation with me should just be free. Nobody should have to pay for something like that. If anything, I would have rather you'd put that. If you were going to Patreon last week, go put it in Nick Shea's GoFundMe, even though he already did the trip, so that makes 0 sense. Shout outs this week. We got Ed from Chicago. Let's try to turn this around, man. Let's try to turn this podcast around, and I'm going to be positive. The positive cast. Okay, this podcast is going to be positive from here on out. All right, Ed from Chicago. Let me talk about Ed from Chicago. Ed from Chicago has been to many of my shows. Ed from Chicago sent me a lovely picture of himself drinking out of the Wax beer koozie. He's bought all my merch. He's hooked me up with free stuff. Ed from Chicago is the goddamn man. I love Ed from Chicago. All right, we got Mike T, the former security guard. Mike T, the former security guard, a.k.a. the multi-currency man, who I've had a running feud with on Wax's podcast, but it's been all for fun. He sent me a very funny picture this week. Funny for most of us, maybe not funny for him. You know, he works at the multi-currency booth over there in the UK. I forgot what part of the UK he's in, but he works at a booth where, like, you know, if you go in there with yen, you can get pounds, convert that to dollars, and then turn it all to euros. And we've been going back and forth, talking about how easily a machine or a robot could do his job. And he sent me a picture of the multi-currency booth that now is at the place where he worked that is basically an ATM machine. I thought that's what they were everywhere. Mike T, the former security guard, also says that if you remember a couple podcasts ago, I was telling a story. I told a story about how the coffee creamer that I use, when I get it out of my fridge, I give the bottle one big shake, and then I put it in the coffee. But just a couple weeks ago, right before I told that story, my almond milk coffee creamer that I use, they changed the type of lid that they have on their bottle. It used to be just the normal twist off. Now it's more like a flip top latch. A flip top latch, and I gave it the one shake, and the fucking shit went everywhere. Don't think that I have it now. I still do that shake, but I actually have evolved to the point where I put my finger on top when I do the shake. But he was saying that a robot would not have spilled the almond milk. His talking shit this week was that a robot would not have spilled the almond milk, and I was like, that's kind of a funny point, but actually, if the robot had been programmed like I was to do the one shake every morning, if he hadn't have been reprogrammed to know that the lid style had changed, not only would he have spilled the almond milk in the same fashion that I did, he would have spilled it the next morning too. He probably would have got sweet, sticky creamer all over his circuits, short-circuited, sparks flying all over the place, and just fell down right there on the kitchen floor. My spark coffee, That's what I got to say about that. All right, we got Shiro. We got Dizzy from Saskatchewan. We got Jacob R. from Ohio. We got Spicy 110. Shout out to Spicy 110. Check him out on YouTube. Thank you, man, for putting people on to me. We got Mike from Colorado. We got the one and only Johnny D. Johnny Delight. Johnny D's brother is Sonny. We got David M. from Oakland. We got Elizabeth G., who recommends Modest Mouse, the band. We got Pidi Machete. Thank you again, Pidi Machete, for buying that merch. Pidi Machete sent me a picture of him wearing the Waxes Podcast t-shirt. There's still some available. I think I only have larges, mediums, and smalls. I don't think I have any more XL and double XL, but I still do have some Waxes Podcast t-shirts. I talked about that on the podcast before. Something happened. I should have bought more double XL and less smalls. Not a lot of small shirt wearers listening to this podcast, but we do have some larges left. All right, so yeah. OMG, it's happening. So I'm at the airport in Manchester because your boy's going on holiday to Rhodes, and look what I see. They've already replaced the travel money people with robots. What the fuck? Oh, I left work yesterday. Mike T, the multi-currency man. The ex-multi-currency man. Sorry to hear about that, Mike. But, don't say I didn't tell you so. I've been telling you so. All right, here's a weird one. A dude sent this one. His name is Fluke. He said, please read ASAP for Major Money. This is like this weird, poem/advertisement. But, I like weird creativity stuff. Do you like weird creativity stuff? I do. All right. Please read ASAP for Major $. Bounty hunters. Has this ever happened to you? Too many bodies stashed up in the back of your room? Rats and maggots consuming the fat and sinew. I don't know what sinew is. While you trying to relax with the brew, what's an assassin to do? I'm glad you asked. Introducing the flesh shredder. Decomposing bodies with no waste and less effort. Wood chippers are way too big. Forget blenders. Offer valid till September, but wait, it gets better. Most body processes leave human tissue as waste to sit and decay. The flesh shredder takes the healthy bits to create a nutritional shake. More protein than chicken and steak, fish, soy, or beans. We'll throw in a free recipe book, Creative Uses for Soylent Green. You're thinking, what's the catch? I know you have hits to make and bills to pay. Your boy Fluke is here to help you call young Billy. Your boy Fluke is here to help. Call me young Billy Mays. I'll cut you a deal. Now's the best time to buy. Order now for only 9 to 5 payments of $19.99. Okay. That was kind of like a morbid, what are they? Infomercial. A morbid infomercial from the homie Fluke. I could see that being on something. That'd be interesting. There's a lot of people, including a girl I dated, who like dark things like monsters and vampires and Halloween. Like, there's a girl I know who my friend Jody, who's an awesome person. She works at this thing for Halloween every year, and she loves to scare people, and she loves scary shit. And Rob Zombie is like her favorite movie director. There's a very large amount of people that like this like monster darkness, not like really goth, but more Halloween, I guess, like Halloween type of monster-y shit. And I guess they've already done this. I was gonna say to make like a sketch show based on that kind of culture. I guess they used to have like Tales from the Crypt, and maybe that chick Elvira did something like that. But if they came from more of a comedy angle, maybe Fluke, maybe that's an idea for you. Maybe, I don't know. Okay, we got a few emails today, and it happens to be, maybe this was a good thing. Maybe what I'm about to say is a good thing, considering my mood today and the quality of the podcast earlier. Pretty much all the emails that I'm reading this week are about wax music and sort of like praise type of emails. Maybe I needed that. Maybe with all the stress and heat, maybe I need some self-affirmation. Maybe I need people to tell me that they care. Maybe I need people to tell me that they're listening, telling me that they like what I do. I just want people to like me. My Facebook page is. This one's from Will D. Hey, Wax. I just got to say that each week you take it a notch higher with the acoustic music. It's incredible, he says. Your lyrics are fucking golden, and I fucking hope these blow up because they deserve to. I can't believe that you can drop banger after banger like that. The landscaper dude, by the way, just showed up in my backyard. He's fucking awesome, man. He always got a cowboy hat on. Motherfucker. 3 foot tall with a cowboy hat that's like the same height as him. He looks like a snowman. But he ain't never seen snow in his life. This dude that is out here doing my leaves, blowing the leaves, which are minimal. He looked like a snowman with a cowboy hat, but he ain't never seen snow in his life. He's definitely from south of here. He looks like a very short brown snowman. I don't know if that's racist or not. Is it short to call a landscaping Mexican landscaper guy a snowman? Is that racist? I have no fucking idea. If so, hey, call it how you see it. I don't fucking know. Dude, thanks, Will D. I don't think that those things are going to blow up. I don't think my Wax Acoustic Mondays are going to blow up, but I'm glad you enjoy them, man. I'm enjoying making them. I'll have another one this Monday. I put out the one this past Monday, by the way, y'all. Called Omelets by the Sea. Might just call it Omelets. It's kind of funny how the Acoustic Monday thing works. Like all the ones that I think are my favorite one are kind of like the least crowd favorites. That's kind of how it works a lot when you do music, y'all. You don't really get to choose which ones other people like. The one that I thought was a throwaway is kind of like one of people's favorite one. I don't know, whatever. I appreciate that, Will D. Will D goes on. I was also wondering if we could make a Wax's podcast playlist. I was thinking of having a public playlist on Spotify and people add what they want. As this would be running on trust, if it got out of hand, I'd make it private and only add recommendations. But it might be a cool way for us all to share new songs. Is there a set release date for the new album, or is it still up in the air? I'm counting down the days. My recommendation for the podcast this week is Bill Burr's F is for Family show on Netflix. Season 1 was good, but Season 2 is brilliant. Good for a hungover binge. Hope you have a good week, and thank you for making my Mondays livable again. Well, thank you, Will. I haven't seen season 2 of F is for Family yet, but my brother did, and he says it's amazing. So I share that recommendation. My recommendation for this week, my homegirl, my good friend Jackie Tone, a friend of mine for many years out here in Los Angeles, a musician, an actor, a comedian, just talented as shit. The lovely Jackie Tone is one of the stars of the new Netflix show Glow, The Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. And I binged watched the entire season, and you know what? I thought it was awesome. I thought even though whether it had my friend in it or not, I thought it was a great show. So that's my recommendation for this week. As far as when my album's going to drop, been working on that. Sure, been working on that. Last night I was working on it. Me and Davey been working on that. Working on an EP with me and Herbal Tea and Lack of Afro. All these things are looking at about September. I think I might be dropping a bunch of shit in like the fall. Hopefully the early fall. Hopefully September. I'd like to ideally drop my acoustic album not long after I finish doing the Acoustic Monday series. I'd like that to kind of all be, what's that word that people, I'd like it to all be, what is it, what is it, they meld together. What is that? I'd like it to all be, I don't fucking know what the word is, okay? It's too hot to think of words. But dude, I appreciate the praise. As far as the public playlist on Spotify, I think that's a great idea, man. I don't know exactly how that would work. I use Spotify all the time, but it's very, very rare that I use any of the cool features of Spotify. I use it, the feature of Spotify that I use, although I do sometimes look at the charts, and I do every once in a while check out like what's going on with the playlist that they curate themselves. But the main feature of Spotify that I use is the search bar. I just use the search bar to find out whatever music I want. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely amazing that I can pretty much listen to any music of all time for $10 a month. And anybody that complains about that clearly is a young person. Used to pay double that for one album. And usually when you don't even get to listen to the album first when you bring it home. Fucking sucks. I was saying that the way that we used to buy CDs, I remember when, you know, back when they had like Tower Records, and the Tower Records was like when all the kind of small record stores went out of business and everything was Tower Records. Maybe even Barnes & Noble, maybe Borders. But these places would have these stations, these headphone stations where you could go check out an album before you bought it. You could hit play, go through the album and listen to it to see if you like it before you bought it. When that shit first came out, we were all amazed. We were like, holy shit, they're going to let you listen to the album before you buy it? Because basically the normal way that it worked with the music industry back in like the 80s and early 90s probably too. Because when I first started buying CDs, it was they weren't even CDs. It was tapes. I was like a little tiny kid, and like when me and my brother, you know, we would like go to fucking Kmart with our parents and buy a tape of somebody we saw on MTV as a gift for the other one for Christmas. And back in those days, we're talking about the first fucking DJ Jazzy Jeff album, man. We're talking about Guns N' Roses and shit. Back in those days, you'd see a song on MTV, and you'd be like, damn, that shit is dope. And you go to the store, and 9 times out of 10 when you bought the album, the only good song on the album was the single that you saw on MTV. And it's kind of like a hustle. It's kind of like, no, you can't listen to all this. You just have to buy it and hope it's good. Kids can't imagine that now. They get to listen to the whole thing, and they don't even have to buy it. They just listen to it on Spotify. $10 a month. We'd pay more than $10 for the whole thing that you don't even get to listen to ahead of time. The way that it used to work, you know, buying this one, the only analogy I can think of was, you know, you hear the one song and you have to buy the whole album without hearing it. It's like going into Dunkin' Donuts and ordering a dozen donuts, but you only get to choose one flavor. And they pick the other 11. But that's actually not a good analogy. The reason I say that is because all donuts are at least okay. Any donut, they could pick 11 fucking coconut, strawberry, peanut butter donuts, and you'd still be like, okay, I can eat those. So a better analogy is you walk into Dunkin' Donuts and you say, let me get a dozen donuts. They say, all right, you get to pick one flavor. You're like, all right, I'll take a Boston cream. And they're like, okay. And they just they just fucking fill the rest of the box up with anything. Rubber bands, old fucking packets of pepper. They empty the trash can in there, take a shit in there, and they just fill the box up with whatever and give it back to you. Here's your one donut and a bunch of bullshit. That's how the music industry used to be. So yeah, I think I got on that talking about Spotify. I think it would be great. I think that'd be amazing if we had a Wax's podcast playlist. Will D, you want to set that up, or do I have to set that up? Is it better for me to do it through the Wax's through the Wax Spotify? But then would y'all be able to, if I set up a podcast? Fucking Christ! I could figure this out. I could figure this out, Will D. But if I could set up if I set up a playlist through the Wax Spotify, I don't think that y'all are able to update it and change it. I've only done one playlist. It was like driving to the beach. That was the day I discovered how to make playlists. Let me see. Hold on one second. Yeah. Is it that one? Is that the one I made? Yeah, that's the only playlist I made, and I created it. I don't think that other people have the ability. Yeah, I don't think other people have the ability to change it. Anyway. If Will D, if you want to set that up, that'd be amazing. So every time somebody makes a recommendation and I talk about it on the podcast, dude, maybe, I've been saying, I need help. I was yelling the other day because I was doing all these things that I was telling Davey, I was doing all this shit the other day. I was like, man, I should have an assistant or an intern that's doing everything that I did today. If I could get help with the podcast, and so many people have offered to help me. So many people have offered to help me with this podcast. I never let them. Maybe I need to step up my outsourcing. Maybe I need to step up my hey man, people want to help you. People want to. Maybe one person could start. Maybe it's you, Will D, if you know how to do it, with the Wax's podcast Spotify playlist. If everybody can update it, if Elizabeth G hits me up and says that her recommendation for this week is Modest Mouse, maybe she could not only say that, she could insert some Modest Mouse songs on the Wax's podcast Spotify playlist, and we could make a rule. Be like, you can't just go on there, because you know what's going to happen. MC Tim that listens to the podcast is going to put a bunch of MC Tim songs on there. And the rule has to be that you can't put it on there unless it was recommended on the podcast. All right. Hey, Wax, it's Sean M. From the Philly suburbs. Please trust me when I say I'm an OG listener of the podcast and been following you since Scrub Life dropped. I just felt you might stop reading my shout-outs if I sent one every week, so I've been holding back. But as you said a few weeks ago, this podcast is becoming its own little niche. And it seems like some of the listeners are becoming recurring characters. So fuck it, I'm going in each week with a shout-out. Be safe out there, man. This says, mad praise you obviously don't got to read on the podcast. Well, you know what? Wait, Sean M. I think you were trying to say that you just want to get a shout-out every week. Sean M. from the Philly suburbs. I like it. It says, Sean M., formerly from Manayunk, now from the Philly suburbs. You don't got to read this. Fuck it. I'm going to read the praise. I need it today. Some days you need praise. Some days you need some praise in one way or another. I don't know. I also just want to bring up your most recent stop in Philly for the Cookout Chronicles tour. I've seen you at the last 5 times. At least 5 times. Now, I'm not just blowing smoke when I say the last show was my favorite set list you've done. I say this because you went deeper with cuts, as well as your YouTube song that you did on the boat. Gin and Tap Water is one of my favorites, and it's just an interlude. It's maybe one of the last songs I'd expect you to hear live, so the fact that you played it was pretty amazing. So if you're ever hesitant about playing some of the more obscure stuff, just know I'm out there somewhere, and I appreciate it. Keep doing what you do, and once again, be safe out there. Well, thank you so much, Sean M. That show, the Cookout Chronicles tour, the Philly show, was an amazing show, as it always is, man. I've said this so many times on the podcast, and this isn't to say anything negative about any of the other cities, but Philly is my favorite place to play in the United States. I'm not saying it's my favorite city to be in, although it is up there. I love Philadelphia, but I'm not going to go on a vacation there. If you're like, hey, you want a vacation somewhere in the United States? I do, obviously Hawaii, but Miami, New Orleans, New York City, anywhere in Southern California. These are vacation-y places that I would go for a week. Or just somewhere I haven't been yet, But when it comes to doing a concert, doing a live musical show, Philly is the best place. Philly has the best fans. I don't mean the best. I just mean the livest, the most energetic, the kind of like the least given a fuck that other people are looking. Boston is like that too, but they're a little violent. Every time you play in Boston, there's not only a mosh pit, but you kind of get like last time there was a guy that came on the stage and I thought he was gonna fucking tackle me. Boston is a very hype crowd, but maybe they're a little too hype. They're a little violent. But Philly is the best, man. That show was so much fun. Of course, the name of the place escapes me. I can picture the green room. I can picture the view from the stage, of the stage. I know exactly how there was an upstairs in the back where the merch table was at the end. I remember specific drunk people that I had to talk to at the merch table. Maybe you were one of them, Sean M. I don't know. What the fuck was that place called? The something lounge? Oh, God, that's going to bother me. But it was such a good show. The green room situation wasn't necessarily ideal. It was really cold. That was that was right around Christmas time. Cold outside in Philly, and the next bar down the street they were having a party where it was called like a Santa Claus party. Everybody that went there had to dress like Santa Claus, whether they were girls or guys. And outside it was just kind of like this was kind of trippy, just a bunch of drunk Santa Clauses everywhere. Which was kind of cool. The one and only Ed Bassmaster was at that show backstage, who was one of my favorite people. I just can't think of the name of that goddamn bar, though. Great show, though. Thank you so much for coming, Sean. I appreciate the kind words, man. All right. We got Barbaric Eric. Yo, man, these shout-outs you give me are one thing I look forward to every week. Just hearing my name called out randomly while I'm pushing inventory around work cracks me up. I'm glad you dig my name. It's awesome to me how you always get a kick out of it. What's great? Barbaric Eric? It's fucking amazing. Yo, I'm Barbaric Eric. Do you hold a fucking wooden club as you walk around with pushing inventory? Your boss like, excuse me, Eric. You're like, ah! I'm sorry. I forgot you were Barbaric. We can't fire him. We don't know what he'll do, He always carries a slingshot in one hand and a machete in the other. We don't even pay him. He's not even on the payroll. He just shows up and pushes inventory around. He's fucking Barbaric Eric. What are you going to do? Anyways, man, I was remembering a few podcasts back you mentioned Kendrick's album Damn. And I've been listening to that shit heavy since it dropped, but the song you said was your favorite, Yeah, I would always skip over. I gave it a listen because I thought, well, shit, if Big Wax likes it so much, there must be a reason. And damn, man, I don't know why I hit skip over and over. Sorry this message is going to be all over the place. I often write down notes to remember shit I want to ask you. But earlier I was listening to Wax Spits Fury yet again. Haha, and dude, that shit dropped a decade ago last month. I remember hearing that shit in middle school and just laughing at all the killer punchlines and bars. Anyways, I've taken enough of your time. Have a good day. Barbaric Eric. Thank you so much, Eric. First of all, that's funny that you said the thing about writing stuff down. You're like, I often write down notes to remember shit I want to ask you. I was thinking just in the last question about the 2 questions ago about the Wax's podcast Spotify playlist. You ever notice like you'll be sitting around at your house or wherever you're at, you'll hear a song, or you'll be watching an interview and somebody will mention an artist. I was watching an interview recently, and this has happened many times with this artist, but people always shout out Frank Zappa. And I love Frank Zappa, but I don't know shit about Frank Zappa. There's some things that you just kind of miss. You go through your entire life and just like, as if you were, like in, you've seen videos of the D-Day invasion of World War II where all these American soldiers just fucking go to the beach off these boats and there's just bullets flying, cannonballs or whatever the fuck weapons they had back then flying. And then, 60% of them don't even make it to, or don't make it to the cliff. They're either on the beach or in the water when they get hit. If I made it to those cliffs, all those bullets are Frank Zappa. Everywhere I went, everywhere around me, people were talking about Frank Zappa, but I just never fucking bought any of his albums or now Spotify'd any of his albums. And I wrote down not a piece of paper, but it pretty much is a piece of paper. My notepad app in my phone is pretty much writing something down on a piece of paper now. But wrote down, listen to Frank Zappa. Because, and I'm saying you always have these moments. Throughout a week, I'll think of 10 different people, songs, or albums that I want to listen to. And then the moment I get my cursor into that Spotify search button, I'm like, what? It can be very, overwhelming. The search function on Spotify. YouTube is like this as well. If you're at home and you're just like, I'm going to watch something on YouTube. And it's like, out of anything, you mean I can watch anything related to any topic of all time? Oh, I'll just search for that, That's why YouTube curates now to just make it to the front page, has stuff that you're definitely going to like based on everything you watched before. But have you guys noticed, I don't know about y'all, but when I go to sleep, I kind of like to fall asleep to some noise. So I'll listen to long form, podcast style interviews on YouTube and fall asleep to that. But have you noticed that the way that YouTube functionality works, the way that their algorithm makes it so the front page will just have all this stuff that's kind of like what you watched before, it puts you into a fucking trap. Whatever you're listening to, you're like, damn, why don't I listen to something else besides this real specific shit that this has me listening to? I don't know. God damn. All right. Anyway, Barbaric Eric. Yeah, as far as that Ya song on the Kendrick album, a lot of people probably do skip over that song because it's chill and mellow. But you know what? I like shit that's chill and mellow. Even though a lot of people got to me. A lot of people know of me by doing these long raps and these kind of energetic raps. That's not necessarily what I like to sit around and listen to. I like stuff that's kind of mellow and chill. Always have. And that's my favorite song on there. I don't know. Maybe people skip it because it seems just slow, and some people would consider that boring. Whereas they like the Kendrick where he's yelling and stuff like that. I like both. But I kind of prefer the mellow stuff. It has more replay value to me. Yeah, thank you for all that. Thank you for that, man. I appreciate the praise. I needed the praise. Some days you need the praise. Some days you don't need the praise because you're already doing okay by yourself, man. What the fuck is going on? I can't even freestyle any cool songs today, I'm in my own head. Was there another thing I was going to talk about it? And you talking about the Wax Spits? Yeah, 10 years ago I did that Wax Spits Fury thing. God damn. 10 years is a long time. I had an awful haircut with actual hair in that video. Looked terrible. But, it looked cooler then than it does now. A lot of people had that style of haircut back then. All right. This is from Drew S., the Walmart employee. Hey, Wax, how's it going? I've been listening to your music for about 3 years now and only recently started listening to the podcast. Let me just say, big fan. But don't listen to this episode. I have binge listened to about 40 of them now, and they're all somehow interesting in their own way, whether it be you reading emails about fruits, ripping on Mike T, or talking about Nick Shea's bike adventure. And I love every time you use Walmart as an example of a big evil company. Unfortunately, it's true, but hey, we all need jobs. That's what they want you to think, man. They want you to think that we all need jobs. Yeah, we should have. We used to all get jobs. We used to get all fucking. I'm fucking sorry. I'm getting a little too excited. I'm slipping over my words. I'm tripping. I'm tumbling. I'm not speaking correctly. Walmart, of course, they want you to think we all need jobs. You know what you used to be able to do? Own your own fucking business. All those sections of Walmart used to be stores that were owned by people in your neighborhood. There'd be fucking Tim's Electronics Store. There'd be Tina's Home and Bath. Clothing store by your neighbor. Now it's all fucking Walmart, and they pay you bullshit wages. You work there all week, then you got to get additional government subsidies. Walmart, McDonald's, Target, whatever it is. The people that you see working there used to work at a neighborhood store owned by somebody in the neighborhood. My hometown was like that when and where I grew up. I don't know how it is now. When I grew up, there wasn't a fucking Walmart there. Now there is a Walmart there. There's a bunch of different fucking corporate chains there. And nobody there gives a fuck. Everybody's happy to have Walmart. But when I was a kid, I mean, shit, I remember, I'd love to see if it's still like this. I remember when I was a kid, I played Little League, I played T-ball. And like, I remember I was on a team called Maryland Printing and Graphics. As a kid, I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Why is that the name of my fucking T-ball team? Why does my orange T-ball shirt say Maryland Printing and Graphics on it? And I remember the hard team would be like, oh shit, we're up against R&J's Liquors. Because R&J's Liquors sponsored a team. They bought all the team's uniforms. And then when all the parents would go to the goddamn games, they'd look at their uniforms and be like, oh, maybe next time I get something, I'll go to R&J Liquors rather than Tim's Liquors, because they're the ones who are nice enough to help out with the kids in the neighborhood. I don't know, maybe if I went to that same park and watched a T-ball game right now, I'd be like, oh, we're playing Starbucks this week. Oh, shit, Walmart's playing Panda Express. Maybe that's the case. But back when I was a kid, I remember specifically Pizza Oven, R&J Liquors, Maryland Printing and Graphics. What else was... there was a fucking Dunkirk Supply. That was like the Home Depot at the time. There might still be a local hardware kind of store there. I don't know. I grew up in small town USA. So much shit has just drastically changed since when I was a kid. It's drastic the way things have changed. A lot of you guys that are 17 or 18 now might not notice all these differences. But the only one I want to talk about, it really was, at least where I'm from, it really was a big difference in the type of shops you would see. Anything new looks the fucking same. Whether it's in my little hometown of Dunkirk, Maryland, everything new, every new fucking shopping center that opens up looks exactly like the new shopping center that opens up in Iowa, which it looks exactly like the new shopping center that opens up here. Here in Sherman Oaks, they might have newer chains. They'll try out new chains. Like, yeah, there's a Starbucks. Yeah, there's a Panera Bread, but then they'll have Quench. Now they're having Quench. They have acai bowls. Dunkirk's not ready for Quench. To them, Panda Express is still new. But they fucking love it. Everybody loves it. Because small towns want to have everything that everybody else has. They want to have Chipotle because they used to have to drive to Annapolis to get Chipotle. Cool, we ain't got to drive to Annapolis no more. Stay down home. Go right down the road. Starbucks right there. Just like that. You used to have to go to Annapolis to get Chipotle. You used to have to drive on Route 4, get on Route 2, go to Annapolis to get Chipotle. Now Chipotle's right there in Prince Frederick. Those are very inside town name jokes. But you know what? We don't realize that it was way better. I don't fucking know. What the fuck do I know? I can tell you that when I was a kid, Subway was a good restaurant. Subway prided themselves on having good sandwiches. Now did you know that Subway, out of all chains, including Starbucks and McDonald's, they have the most locations in America? And when you go to Subway corporate headquarters, when they're talking about lowering the quality of their cheese or meat, they're talking about saving $50 million. Spending a hundredth of a cent less on shittier cheese will save them $50 million, so they do it. That's That's why Subway's not as good. I mean, shit, I remember it was about early 2000s, I guess, that I discovered Chipotle. I didn't fucking discover it like I'm some kind of Amerigo Vespucci. Which, by the way, the Indians were already here. The Native Americans, excuse me, were already here. So even he didn't discover this fucking place. But I didn't discover Chipotle. Chipotle put themselves there in College Park. That was the first time I ever heard of Chipotle. And it was pretty amazing. When they opened, they had free burrito day. It was a huge line forever. And you could get a burrito, get right back in line and get another one. I think it was the first 2 days they were open. Just like somebody who's just giving away crack, knowing that everybody's going to love it and come back and buy it. They did it right. But I'm telling you, Chipotle was better then. The rice was better. The meat was better. Don't get me wrong, Chipotle's still pretty good, but back then it was better. And now that they pretty much dominate the non-real Mexican burrito market of America, now it's time where they can start cutting costs because nobody else can compete with them. But back then, that shit was dope. I fall into the trap. We all like We all like to be familiar with stuff, you know? People feel comfortable at Starbucks. You know, you get a mom and pop coffee shop in there. There is a chance that it won't be as good as Starbucks. There is a chance that it will be better than Starbucks. But people just are comfortable with what they're familiar with. That's why game shows last so long. That's why Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune, they don't go off the air because people like what they're familiar with. They don't change the goddamn. They're not creative. The most creative they get on Wheel of Fortune is they change the location of the studio. They'll be like, "We're coming to you live from Florida," and they're just like, you can't tell it's Florida. They could be in Burbank and just they have a fucking the background just says Florida, you know. But it's always the same, and people love shit that's always the same. That's why we love chain restaurants. Because you can get a fucking McDonald's hamburger in Tulsa or McDonald's hamburger in Honolulu, and it's gonna taste exactly the same. We like that. We're creatures of habit. We're not experimental creatures. Even when we experiment with drugs, what are we looking for? The same fucking ones we had last time. People be a cokehead. They're not a cokehead. They're not just a drug addict. They're not. I mean, some people like a lot of different drugs, but there's one that you're addicted to. We're creatures of habit. Why they call it a drug habit. Anyway, that was all an aside from Drew S., the Walmart employee. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to talk shit about you because you work at Walmart, but they want you to think, oh, hey, well, we all need jobs. Enough of that, though. I wanted to ask about your collaborations with other artists. What is your favorite feature that you've done on someone else's song? I can't even remember the last time I did a feature on someone else's song. My personal favorite of yours, and one of my favorite songs in general right now, is the song you did with Spose called Lies. That shit blew my mind, and every single line had me thinking. Keep it up, man. Oh, and also, when the fuck can I listen to some Caviar? Yeah, that might have been the last collaboration I've done. I was going to do a collaboration this week, but fell through. I'm trying to say no to stuff. I don't do a lot of collaborations, man. I don't know. I put a lot of my own shit before anything. People ask me to collaborate a lot, but usually I'm trying to say no more, rather than a lot of. So many times I've told people I would, and then I fucking kind of drag people along. It's a bad habit of mine that I'm trying to stop doing. My favorite collaborative song I did on somebody else's song. I don't know, man. What is somebody? I can't even think of. Sure, I guess the one. Not. I can't even think of one, dog. I've hardly done any of those. Probably something I did with Dumb. Probably something I did with him, I guess. I don't know. Something I did with my brother, probably. I don't fucking know. I have no idea. I hardly have any of those. As far as when you can listen to Caviar, should be soon. We're just waiting to get this video done. It's taking a long time for the video to get edited, but hopefully it'll be worth it because I think it's going to be a great video, and it should be out pretty soon, man. Yeah, man. That's probably where I'm at with that. Fuck it. Be safe out there.